Watching Wolves this season has been a relentless rollercoaster of emotions, of VAR decisions, goals, topsy-turvy results, winning and losing and drawing and extra time and everything else in between. And lining up to play Man United at Molineux, I thought Wolves had revenge on the menu after the opening game of the season. And when you look at the table, Wolves and Man United, it feels like they're both in this kind of zone of the table, and it feels like Wolves are just getting all the wrong end of stuff, and Man United have maybe done a little bit better. And coming into this game, I thought it was a huge 6-pointer for that mid-table zone to maybe give Wolves a bit of a step up on their season and maybe try and give the season, then some of the performances have had some of the merit it's deserved with their position on the table. But alas, it wasn't to be. And it was a nice kind of microcosm of what I see as Wolves' season so far. And, I'm a huge fan of Gary O'Neill so far this season, but the mistakes they're making, the goals they're conceding, it feels like a lot of the same thing over and over again. In the video today, we're going to have a wee look at where the game was good and bad for Wolves, and exactly for the rest of the season, what we think they might go on to achieve. At any point in the video, if you laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers. And yeah, get into the comment section and let me know, Wolves this season, is it going to be a top half finish, or is it going to be safely around the bottom half of mid-table like they're in at the moment? And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, the Wolves team and the Wolves shape has kind of evolved throughout this season, and we've seen Jean-Victor Bellegarde back in the team again. We've seen Neto come back to prominence from injury, and Cunha, for me, is probably the most underrated forward in the league. So this was a really strong starting 11 that, with the nature of both the fullbacks and, the box-to-box strengths that you get from Lamina, and a bit of that guile and a wee bit of that finesse that you get from Tommy Doyle. It's definitely a team set up to try and take the game at Man United and try and, get the result, kind of sooner rather than later. Now, let's kind of what do we want to call this? A 5-2-3 or a 5-2-2, 5-3-2. It's a bit of a funny formation Wolves are playing, but generally when you've got three centre-backs in your back line, the benefit you're going to get is in defensive zones is you're able to plug a lot of passing lanes, you're able to plug a lot of gaps, make your half of the pitch very defensively tight and very difficult to play through. But with the Wolves kind of system, it's a little bit weird because you don't get that same defensive benefit for large periods of the game, because Wolves want to transition up the pitch. The fullbacks are unapologetic in how attacking they can be, and the midfield is critical to everything that Wolves are going to do when they build up possession, because Wolves do want to be in possession, and a 5-3-2, let's just call it, team generally isn't a team that's normally going to have large periods of possession when they're set up in this more, let's say, defensive kind of state with three out-and-out centre-backs in there with just attacking full-backs. Not one of them is like a converted winger, which sometimes you see for that kind of lopsided approach where maybe the right-back is a right-back, but the left-back's actually a winger, and you focus everything down the left. It is much more of like you've got two full-backs and a back three. And when you're allowing the midfield to be the creators and they're going to double up and control zones whenever they get into areas to attack, is it's going to leave these huge zones in midfield. Now, I didn't do any analysis after the Liverpool-Chelsea game, right? But there was a lot of criticism towards Chelsea for playing a high line and for Liverpool's high line and stuff like that. And sometimes teams aren't necessarily playing a high line, right? But if you're allowing your midfield the freedom to go and create for you, and they have the pressure of being the chance creators, to control possession, to make sure the ball doesn't turn over, etc., they need to operate in a group and they need to be quite close to the ball. If that turns over, there can be huge gaps to play in, right? So if you don't want those huge gaps, the defence need to come closer to the halfway line. And as you see with the Chelsea-Liverpool game, they'll get onto the halfway line and they'll try and keep it in that half and try and really snuff the ball out when possible. But Wales don't quite get that high up with the entire defence. Maybe Kilman will come into this kind of zone, maybe Totti on occasion, but normally they will have two a little bit deeper. And when you're in retreat in this kind of zone, and I think Wolves are very good in recovery and retreat and getting back into shape and kind of, getting this kind of five. Maybe one of them's a midfielder that fills into one of the fullback spots, but they're quite good at getting this shield up around the castle very quickly. But that zone is where everything positive for Man United came, whether it was coming inside and playing a switch of ball into like the pocket for, I forget which goal it was, I think it was the Højlund goal, where, this zone here, Garnacho's come into it, switched the ball across the side of the pitch, forgive me for the screen if it's from left to right rather than right to left or whatever, and then the balls eventually went in for Højlund to go and get the goal himself. Or if it's players like travelling into this zone here, again, I mentioned Garnacho, even Kobe Mainu, Bruno Fernandes, this zone here, Man United were getting players into here far too easily because, again, I would say Doyle and Lamina and later like João Gomez and, the subs that came on and whatever. I think overall they so often they did do a good job of retreating and getting back in and filling these gaps like they should be doing. But unfortunately, they're just maybe missing one man to come back. And as soon as Man United can get out of this crowd, I think this was for the Rashford goal. As soon as you can get out of this crowd of where you've cut off all the passing lanes, you can get, all this was a little bit deeper when it actually happened, but if you can get out of this crowd and find a bit of space, and very quickly, Man United were able to come out of the crowd and then play it in where it is like, it's 2-on-2 at the back post, Højlund and Rashford against two defenders. Højlund lays it off for Rashford, he takes the lead that way. And every time I see Wolves, it's these types of goals that seem to really hurt them and really do them in. But these guys have got a great spirit. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm a big fan of Gary O'Neill and how he's trying to get the team to play. And as I even lay this out to do the video with you guys, maybe, when Ait Nouri's, I know he's back, played in this game. We've seen João Gomez come back in for Lamina. And I say the centre-backs on individual merit didn't really do that badly in this game. Craig Dawson is always in amongst it at the back with clearances and putting his body on the line. And Kilman is very, very underrated at coming into these kind of zones here and helping the midfield feel like there's a defensive midfielder in there, with the centre-backs maybe tucking in a little bit when they do have that possession. But again, that in turn from Kilman does give that midfield further license to get a bit higher. And then again, if he's again, there's gaps and there's zones that Wolves are happy to leave, are capable of covering those gaps, but it's the kind of collateral effects that is kind of undoing them. So I do feel that they're really well set up to attack teams and to win games with the fullbacks that they've got for width. And honestly, Neto, Cunha, Bellegarde, even Sarabia when he came on, I really like what Wolves have in midfield and in attack, and I really do feel that the quality in the team is befitting of a higher position in the league. But I really do feel that, Bellegarde was really high in this game, but I really do feel that a third man to be a bit more of the midfielder rather than Kilman coming in here and especially against a team like Man United. And I know Wolves were at home and they want to be the home team and maybe try and win the game a bit earlier, take the refereeing decisions out of the game, which, by the way, there was a shout for a VAR that never came because it was Wolves, you might say. And then I think the penalty that Sarabia did get, I thought was really soft, and it felt like a little bit of, them evening the score ever so slightly. Because if you're going to continue to allow the midfield to go up and support like the extra gung-ho attack of like Cunha and Neto, who again are both actually fantastic at coming in and doing the build-up play a bit deeper, and have got great energy, great team play to get up and, support the attacks later on. You need a player in this zone here to cut out those passing lanes and kill this space here that is killing Wolves currently. And it's the space between midfield and defence in retreat. If you've got a guy whose job it is to patrol this area here and snuff out those through passes, or if when the winger is coming inside, rather than the centre-back being committed and then the back three becoming a back two and it being man for man very quickly, you've got that enforcer over here to come and do it. Now, I've always thought Lamina was that type of guy, and to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of him out and out in that position. I think you actually get a very good box-to-box midfielder out of Lamina in this Wolves team, but you do need someone in there that can really control. And whenever I hear Gary O'Neill talk, he's after another forward, and maybe there's depth required. There's an injury crisis. Obviously, Kladzic has been out. Fabio Silva's been out. Hwang's at Asia Cup, so maybe there's a bit of that. And I can hear some of you already in the comment section saying, yeah, but Quinny, we do play that if it's Gomez is back and Bellegarde and Lamina, but it didn't happen tonight. It's not... You can't go back and get these points. Wales are dropping points all the time, and if you know that's the best way to maybe attack this game, then you don't need Gomez to play this mode. When Gomez was in here, he was kind of creating that defensive box with Kilman when the build-up play was happening. They were trying to, go and try and, Cunha equalise and then go on and get the winner and stuff like that. So I do think that even without João Gomez, the team is well versed enough. I think you could have played Bellegarde a bit deeper and it could have worked out that way. But it does feel that without a wee bit more reinforcements, like Wolves' depth is really what's going to let them down. So I'm looking at the list of players that are missing, and I don't see anyone really jumping off the pages like, oh yeah, I forgot that guy was injured. And the bench, as I say, there's just not anything massively there that you can call upon. I know Sarabia, Gomez, Ait Nouri came on, but those guys are generally starters. Because as much as this midfield is probably what's letting them down, this whole dimension of the 888 thing that we see Newcastle do, and more teams in the Premier League are getting very good at, Wolves, I think, I've got a great compliment of doing it, but this whole three at the back system, I think it just exposes so much space because all three want to retreat together and make that shield across the box, get in a position, get set, and then go and confront the ball. And that just, like teams like Man United that have got wingers that want to come inside, that will shoot from distance and do want to play a bit of give and go. This is the space that they want to play in, and this is the counter attacks that they want to live in. This is the stuff that they trained for, and it's just really eaten into their hands. Man United have not been that prolific this season, have not been that impressive this season, and Wales really should have won this game. Scoring 3 goals and not getting a point will be sore, but I know Wales and Gary O'Neill have had a few difficult situations this season, so I do feel that this squad is really capable of something, much better. I know I've said that a bunch, and I think that this is a really easy mistake or a really kind of easy tweak that in theory can be made to the team to really just make them a bit harder to cut through. And maybe you even need to take the back three out of it. I don't know. But I think you just need to make sure these passing lanes are just way harder to get into. And having 2 recover, like we've seen against Man United, to come in and cover these zones here, they just need to be a bit better defensively to stop players coming out of this crowd. And I think just when you've got too many similar midfielders, that's the position you find yourself in, where this guy finds himself in the position where he's one-on-one having to defend, and maybe that's not his best position to be doing it, or whatever it might be. This guy's on a booking, so he can't go in as hard, and you've not got anyone else on the bench that could do that job for them. So as soon as you change him, you're bringing on a more attacking player, and then you lose a bit of that steel that you've got in midfield by playing the 3. Wales' next 4 games in the Premier League is probably going to shape out, I think, how the rest of the season is going to pan out for them. Games with Chelsea, Tottenham, Sheffield United and Brentford, home and away, respectively, will be 12 points. Once they have been once that die has been cast on the table for a lot of these teams, obviously Sheffield United and Tottenham aside, but Brentford and Chelsea, these are real points, and the points that they get in that time frame, the middle of the table, I feel, will kind of pull away and shake out. So you will see the teams that might have a shot at getting in and having an incredible season in the top half, or the teams that might be consigned to just mediocrity in the middle of the table. The great news for Wolves, but is after those 4 games, no matter how it shakes out, they will be playing Brighton on the 28th of February. Now, Brighton have had a pretty decent season. They're playing in the Cups, of course. They've got European Cups. They've not done that much business in the January window. Quite a, settled outfit overall. A wee bit of rumours around De Zerbi. But I think Wolves could probably aim at the FA Cup, they're very capable. They can beat anyone on their day. And if they can get past Brighton on the 28th of February, then maybe Wolves could have a really famous FA Cup, run off the back of it. Right after the FA Cup, it's Newcastle for Brighton. And then after that, the fixture list really eases up. There's a little game in there with Aston Villa, but it's not until the last 5 games of the season where 3 of their opponents are Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool, where you think, Wales might struggle to collect some points there. So I really feel that the fixture list might get a little bit kinder to Wolves, and if they can get enough of their fit players back on the pitch, and they can continue the positive momentum that they've had, and maybe fix some of those chinks in their armour, I think Wales could still have a really good season. And the fact that Gary O'Neill came in, didn't have a pre-season, and has really had to have a bit of a patch-up job with this squad, clear some of the decks with some of the transfers going out, massage for the FFP. I think that Gary O'Neill is setting up a really strong Wolves team here, and I'll be really, eagerly watching how they get on in the FA Cup and the season in general ahead of the summer, because like we've seen with so many Premier League teams, Aston Villa, West Ham, Tottenham are a wee bit of the poster childs in different ways of cracking the top end of the Premier League, but the Wolves squad is very, very talented, and it's not that different to a lot of the teams that are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points ahead of them. It's missing 1 or 2 players, and it's missing another year of experience for Gary O'Neill and another year of cohesion with Gary O'Neill at the squad, and a transfer window or 2 where he can finesse this squad ever so slightly. So, really excited by what he's done. Look forward to seeing Wolves for the rest of the season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. It was a hard 3 points drop to Man United, but there's a lot of positives to take out of it. And yeah, how do Wolves shape out for the rest of the season? Let me know. On screen there now is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.